Hey everyone, welcome to First Tuesdays with Heart. It is Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026, and this is actually our second birthday. We started doing First Tuesdays in February of 24, so pretty excited to have you all here. First Tuesdays is sponsored by the Heart Pure Support Team in connection with the Resiliency and Justice Center in Las Vegas. Heart stands for Healing, Empowering, and Rebuilding Together. We're a peer support program for anyone impacted by any mass violence incident. Take a quick moment to introduce you to our heart team. Alice is a licensed professional counselor. She's the co-director of Heart, and she facilitates the Route 91 and UNLV support groups. Jackie is a licensed marriage and family therapist. She is the behavioral health program coordinator for the Resiliency and Justice Center. She is one of our original Heart coaches, and she facilitates both the Route 91 and the Continuing the Conversation with Heart support groups. And I'm Jill Winter. I'm co-director of Heart. I'm a Route 91 survivor, and I assist Alice with the UNLV support group and Jackie with the Conversation with Heart support groups. So we always like to start with picture, meme, saying something, and we thought for this it would be perfect to show this picture. This picture is actually a group of routers. When I was living in San Diego, we would do a Survivor sushi night every Friday. And it just kind of organically happened, but I can't tell you how nice it was to be able to spend time with others who understood. It made such a difference. So we thought we'd share that one with you guys. So we are absolutely thrilled to welcome back Alma Dell Smith. She spoke actually in our February First Tuesdays last year about meditation and mindfulness and was amazing. Alma Dell is a clinical psychologist and research assistant professor at the National Mass Violence Center, which is part of the Medical University of South Carolina. Her work has focused primarily on stress assessment and treatment, with particular emphasis on psychophysiological effects of stress and trauma. Dr. Smith was a trailblazer in integrative medicine at the Women's Health Unit at Boston Medical Center, where she specialized in coordinating psychological and medical care within an urban health clinic. She's also the co-author of two widely recognized books on stress, The Stress Solution and Stress in Marriage. For the past 7 years, Dr. Smith has been contributing to the National Mass Violence Center by developing innovative online content and apps, including the Transcend app and the Virtual Resiliency Center. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Alma Dell.
Thanks, everyone. I'm so happy to be back here and with this amazing and wonderful team, and also to be able to connect with you from all over. I was watching where you're from, and it just, my heart was just full thinking of each of you and what you all have been through. So I'm going to start sharing my screen and do a little slideshow, and then we'll talk. And before we start, even before I do that, I just want to acknowledge that today's topic may bring up many different reactions, and you're welcome to take care of yourself in whatever way you need. You can step out, take a break, adjust your position, or just listen quietly. You're in control of how you participate. And then before we move forward, if we could just take a moment to settle, place your feet on the floor, take a nice breath in and slowly out. The breathing is amazing in terms of how it really can help reset our physiology. Jill knows that very well. We call it square breathing sometimes. It's just breathe in on a count of four and out on a count of four and holding in between. So if you willing to take a moment just to do that. And take a moment also to be aware that you are with your uh, colleagues and friends and peers in this process, and how unique and wonderful it is to be able to gather like this. Um, if any time you have a comment or question, please interrupt or raise your hand. I'd be happy to talk as we go through. So, anyways, the strong, caring support from safe people can help protect against long-term distress after a potentially traumatic event. Even months or years after, many survivors naturally pull back at times to feel safer, especially when your anxiety is high or your trust feels fragile, and asking for help just may feel uncomfortable. Support can be helpful, yet not always easy to access in the ways that you feel right. You may feel comforted by some people and misunderstood by others. You may want closeness and connection one day and distance the next. These reactions are normal and understandable. You may have lost relationships from the past, but not yet gained new relationships that are sustaining. So today we're going to explore how support can help in recovery, why finding the right kind of support can be hard, and how to honor your needs in each stage of your healing. I'm just to talk a little bit about the National Mass Violence Center, which is a research and service center that has a lot of information. I'll put the links at the end under resources so that you all can, if you need to find more about that. Our learning objectives describe different types of social support, list the common challenges to seeking social support, identify how social support can change over time, and then identify steps to strengthen your support. And in this presentation, we refer to social support as connection, support, caring. There's many different terms that might be associated with those words. So why do we need to rebuild these social connections? One of the things we know that normal human instinct usually brings people into groups to support one another for joyous occasions and for tragic occasions. It's a place where we tell stories, and it's a place that others can help us just through life in general. Violent crime and the stress with it can make social support less available. Number one, communities, if so many people are affected, that everybody's kind of struggling to get it together, and it sometimes that brings people together and in shared grief, and we feel closer. We find people that we've never known before who might be able to sustain us, and at the same time, the people may be tired. They may be trying to figure out just how to, put their lives together, and are not as available to just hang out or have coffee and things like that. So the coming together may look different as time goes by. I'm not going to read all the slides, but it does help. Other people can help calm the nervous system. The research that we've done in the follow-up, including the Route 91 and other mass violence incidents, those people who had strong social support were less likely to develop depression and PTSD. So that may be whether they had pre-existing social networks or whether they were able to take advantage of, participate in the kinds of support networks and services that are created in communities afterwards. Sometimes people can motivate us to try something new, but if they care, then maybe we can care. And it's all part of this building a meaningful life. And that takes a long time. So I want you to think for a minute about all the different ways that social support happens. One is the emotional connection. You may just want somebody to comfort, to care about you, to listen, validate, make you feel safe, having a place to go when you're feeling anxious, having somebody to go with you when you are scared to do things, that sort of thing. Social and belonging support is just sometimes just doing things together. And that's why in some programs, they just like have knitting classes or they have cooking classes. And it's not about discussing what's going on, but it's just about being able to have somebody keep company with you. It's good to have the trauma-informed therapist or peer, people who understand trauma. It's really important to have practical support or to offer practical support. Now, this is like, can I give you a ride? Do you want me to go with you to the grocery store? Can I like do your laundry? You want me to take care of your kids while you go get, uh, where you go take care of yourself, or you just go home and sleep? So all of these, there's just hundreds of ways that we can help each other. And not just post trauma, but in everyday ways, the more we feel that connection of, is there anybody I could ask a favor from? Or do you offer, do you need anything? Give me a call. Keep it casual, but it's very meaningful. Informational support is those, and I say about advice, I don't mean just like giving advice about what you should do with your life, but, do you have a legal question? Do you have a medical question? Do you have, curious about medication that has anybody else had it and what do you know about it? And then, or do you know somebody who knows somebody who can help me? That resources that help with problem solving. I may not be able to do it to help you, but I know somebody who does, my neighbor, my sister, whatever. And then connecting people with resources, really super ways to have support. The purpose and meaning, again, when we're together, like we can affirm the competency of recovery, and noticing positive things that help people feel valued and that they have purpose and meaning in their lives anyway, after all. Um, the spiritual support may come just in people talking about how they feel about things, or it may come from shared rituals, going to meetings or services, anything like that. And then, as you all know, it can be in person or online. Okay. So here, I'm going to be asking you to think about your own map. Um, so again, this is just a sample. Like if you look around, or if you imagine for a few moments, you may have a friend who is a longtime friend, maybe even from a previous time in your life that you still stay connected by phone. You may have a friend at work, your relatives. So we think about them. They don't necessarily have to be right next to us, though that is wonderful when that's true and possible. But remembering that there are people who you may have once been close to, maybe drifted away from, but they still, if you reached out, they might still be available. So just remembering a little bit about who is there for you, both close in and who out, and who can you maybe ask about practical things, but you wouldn't want to ask them necessarily to like sit with you while you cry. So building social support and relationships takes time, effort, and is intentional. Now, sometimes we'll meet somebody and feel right away like this person, I like them, they get me. We go right into like sharing all kinds of stories and things. But for a lot of relationships, first you meet them casually and then you see them again, and then maybe you have another conversation, or you're in a group with somebody, and in the beginning you're like, I don't belong in this group, and I don't know if I'll even like these people because they're really not like me. They're from a different place or a different incident. But again, if you're persistent and you hang in there over time, you begin to discover who these people who come across your path might be, and who is it that you can cultivate and develop as a closer connection. Now, I don't know about you all, but I think all of us have a touch of shyness, especially, when we're feeling anxious or we're depressed. Like, I'm so sad. Nobody's going to want to talk to me because I feel so bad and I'm not being funny and charming. So that sense of, is it okay for me to reach out and give it a shot? And you may be anxious about doing that. The other thing is having those negative thoughts. Like I was just saying, that nobody's going to understand. If I get started, I might get depressed, and people aren't going to like that, or they don't want me. Any kind of those negative thoughts that you might have. And then the social expectations, in your own community about what's okay and what's not okay. But the main point is persistence. Take your time and keep doing it. And I'm just going to take a moment. All right. Some of the challenges. I don't know who to contact. I don't even know where to begin. So it may be that you all hopefully have you found Heart, which is a wonderful place to begin. And I know many of you, it's been quite a while since the incident, and you might be in a different space right now. But if a new need comes up, you may or may not know uh, where to start. And I just encourage back to that question of ask somebody who might know, or can they direct you, or what can they give you ideas about how to reach out? Uh, the anxiety and the mistrust, which is common after you just again encourage people to take small steps, go to a meeting, even if you don't want to. My advice to people is, okay, here's the deal. It's a 15-minute rule. Go and stay for 15 minutes. If after 15 minutes you don't like it, you want to stay there, then it's fine to leave. You went, you put your toe in the water, you broke the ice, and uh, and it's just fine. But the thing is, avoid avoidance. Feel the fear and do it anyway. So hopefully many of you are back into a routine, but there's still things that you just don't want to do anymore. Or there's a few things that you just can't bring yourself to do. And so I'm just encouraging you to take baby steps in that direction and maybe get support, somebody to go with you, somebody to do it with you, or at least talk you through it so that you're more prepared. Sometimes people just don't want to avoid intrusive questions, and that's part of our guidelines. It's like we're not going to get into details of things. You can do that perhaps with a therapist or in certain situations, but if somebody wants to know, like, what happened, you can practice saying, I'd rather not talk about that right now. Or there may be other things you just don't want to talk about, and that's fine. And sometimes people feel shame about their strong emotions or fear about being a burden. And that's normal to have these reactions, and that people usually want to help. Sometimes we feel helpless, overwhelmed, vulnerable. Another thing, the limited social networks. Those of you who might be in small towns, or you moved after it happened, or there were those people who were at Route 91 who live in England. Like it's hard to go across to that. So that's where we talk about the online support's really beautiful, or turn to other friends from another time in your life, even though they're not like in your town. Some folks have talked about not wanting to turn to their families when they're struggling, that they protect their loved ones, especially if they were also affected by the event. Also, sometimes the families, they worry, they're protective, or they say, aren't you better yet? So we don't necessarily want to like get started talking about it with them. But if they're close to you, and if you feel like they can be pretty supportive, just ask them if it's okay. And if it doesn't work out, then you tried, and maybe try again later. So that leads me to this issue. Sometimes it goes wrong, right? So the response misses the need. You want to talk, and they give you advice. They try to tell you to stay positive. You should get out more, do this, do that. And really, what you really maybe wanted to do was just have some quiet comfort, or you may just wanted to say, I'm having a bad day, and can I talk about it? So sometimes that happens. I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but other people report like the reaction is minimizing or invalidating. People say, excuse me if I offended, it's God's plan, or at least you didn't die, or at least you were able to go back to work, or anything that kind of is invalidating your experience instead of just allowing you to be where you are in this moment. Yes, you may be grateful, but that doesn't mean you're not suffering or challenged in some ways. Even if they say, like, you seem fine to me, that can be invalidating. Uh, it can be like, I see your strength. I really admire how you've handled this. That may be validating your, your resilience, and still realizing there's more to come. The listener can become overwhelmed. You get emotional, they get emotional, and then you're kind of taking care of them. So I'm not going to go into this in depth, but they talk about the circles of support, and that if somebody's suffering, you take care of them, and then if you're upset by what was discussed, you turn to your level of support. You go outward for your support. You don't like ask the person who's struggling to support you in that moment. I don't know if that makes sense. So again, if your listener becomes overwhelmed, unsure of what to say, pulls away, it can feel like rejection, but it may be about their limits. And that's another theme we have tonight is not everybody can do everything. And support systems have their limits, and we just try to benefit from what's there. Boundaries may not be respected. They share private information. They push for details. They may be inconsistent. And then sometimes after you've reached out, you may feel like, oh, I said too much, or kind of regret that you like talk to that person. So when it goes wrong, survivors may pull back from seeking help, decide it's safer to stay silent, feel embarrassed or ashamed that they still need support, and question whether their needs are valid. And it's our position that these reactions are understandable and protective. And it means that requests for support didn't match that moment or that person. It doesn't mean that, you should stop. It doesn't mean you asked the wrong way. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't ask again. So tips for reaching out, and hopefully, these are things that you all, already had. You could probably teach me more than I could teach you about this. Start with somebody who feels safe and listens well. Be prepared for them to say no. Now, this is hard because rejection, aren't we all rejection sensitive? Who wants for somebody to say like, not now, or no, I really can't do that. So taking the risk when we reach out and being willing to hear that no and accept their limits, you might have to make an assessment of like, is that a hard no, or is that like not right now and maybe tomorrow? It's good to clarify what you need. I just need to talk. I'm having a hard day. Is that okay? I need information. I need a distraction. Can we go to the movies? I don't talk about anything. I just need quiet company. Can we just walk the dogs together? So kind of clarify what it is that you need, what helps and what doesn't. Many people find that texting or emails are easier. Texts are short and kind of have a conversation back and forth. An email, I sometimes like emails because I can say everything I need to say and they don't interrupt. And they can open it up the next day, or when a text will interrupt the person. So I don't want to necessarily text because it could be in the middle of the night when I'm thinking about things. So an email can be a sort of a fuller conversation, and then blessed be, hopefully they will answer via email or just call you up and say, I read your email. Do you want to talk? That would be lovely. Again, try again and again. Relationships take time. Also, I remember working with somebody who said, I don't like to start conversations because I don't know how to end them. I don't really know how to get out. I don't know how to exit gracefully. And I just hadn't run into that before, but it's maybe you just want a limited contact with somebody and just finding those ways to pause, change the subject, or just say, oh, I got to go now. Quick little phrases. Again, you all have your own ways of doing this. I'm having a difficult day. You have time to talk. I could use somebody to help me think through something. Can I share something briefly? And then your needs. I'm not ready to talk about details. It helps when you just listen. I'm hoping you could run an errand for me. Do you mind? Can I ask a favor of you? I need to stop for now. I don't want suggestions. I want to talk about how I'm coping, not about what happened. And that's our theme here at Heart. So, the low pressure alternatives, again, you're not asking people for major time commitments, just something uh, small in the beginning and then may become later that you're able to ask. I like this last one. Would you check in with me later? Sometimes this feels hard to reach out. Sometimes when I'm having a particularly hard day, I can't reach out, but it would be really nice if I heard from you or you could text me from time to time. So asking them to look, to check in with you. Uh, Appreciation, very specific. It helped me to get out of the house. Somebody said that to me the other day. I asked her if she wanted to do something, and she said yes. And then twice she said, I was so glad to get out of the house, so glad to get out of the house. So I felt, happy that it worked both ways. Uh, Thanks for talking to me. It meant a lot for me. I'm not sure I could have done it alone. It affirms their support. It really gives them the reward of, caring. We care for each other, and it feels good when that caring is acknowledged and noticed. Again, hearing what helped you. This is if you have peer, uh, other people, other survivors, hearing what helped you and others to recover has given me hope that things will be better. Okay. How support can change over time. Immediately after, there's the crisis, there's, memorials, there's gatherings, there's public, you know, conversations about it all the time. A lot of frequent check-ins. It's very intense, a lot of practical help. And then I don't know if people notice that sometimes that starts to fade. And then uh, as we get into the months afterwards and up to that first year, that's when there's a lot of emotional processing going. That's where there, those who may want to talk about it, may want to do art, may want to be in a group and have long talks, maybe go to therapy and really get into how it affects you. And that support can fluctuate during that year. And maybe I'd love to hear from y'all later about all that. So years later, it tends to be a smaller circle, fewer people, but you have a deeper trust. Your focus is on life beyond the trauma, and consistency matters a lot. And then the other time is during flare ups. That's special dates, moments that stir memories. And those moments may not be a date, it may not be anything that you can put your finger on, but just there's something about the weather, or there's something about that reminds you of somebody that you've lost, or something that just like reminds you of life before. Anything can stir memories. And then it's not really a setback. Well, maybe it is kind of a setback. It feels like the reactions come up again. And there it is. The grief is there again. The anxiety is there again. Panicky feelings are there again. And you're like, oh man. And that's when it's good to turn to trusted people who understand these cycles. And it may be that the short term support is enough during those flare ups. What I think about setbacks is it's an opportunity to learn yet one more layer of this recovery process. So maybe odd to say, but if you can welcome your setback, welcome this grief again. The grief is how much you loved somebody or how much you loved your former life or whatever. That's when your breathing can help, and just let it be what it is. Breathe, keep breathing, and then let it subside. As the waves come, then they can also pass. And that's where the mindfulness really helps a lot too, because we know uh, things will come into our minds and then they'll just drift on. So, then these conversations later are goals, relationships, work, meaning of life. You look for those people who are cheerleaders, help you feel needed and included, help you feel that build a life worth living, and restore that sense of purpose. At this stage, professional support is used as needed rather than continuously. Maybe just checking in once or twice a year, just or 5 times in a row, and then you feel steady again. This may be a time for creativity or community-based support, mutual support, going back and forth as a peer, and low-key support just in your daily life. So we're nearing the end of all these slides. Can you just take a minute to think again? You can make notes if you want to. Who is in your circle of support? Are they close, distant? Are they past or current? Who are your most important ones? Who can you share your feelings with? Who can get you advice from, or who might need your help or support? And if someone comes to mind, take a moment also to just feel a moment of gratitude for them, that what a treasure it is to have uh, that person or those folks that you can rely on. And again, you may not even talk to them every week, but it's that sense that they are there. On the flip side, are there types of support that are missing in your recovery? Are there people that you're not connected with but want to be? Anybody you want to spend more time with? Relationships you want to improve? Any ways you want to help others? Do you want to join a community group? So, sometime in the next few days, maybe identify 3 sources of support. Think about, do you want to meet in person or how you want to connect? Do you wait for them to reach out to you, or can you like take that chance and initiate the contact? And then make a plan that's concrete and specific, taken from our discussion tonight, and just take a few moments to like kind of make that commitment. Okay, we are now at the resources, and I think this will be available to you online if you don't have to write them down right now. But the our website has a section especially for survivors. Uh, the Mass Violence Help is the resiliency online resiliency center, and then the snaps and webinars are our little short learning modules.
Thank you so much. We have one comment. I've even used checking in later when upset students. It feels good when they trust more, when they feel heard. I don't receive check-ins as often. I wonder if I'm affected by it. And I understand that. I definitely don't get check-ins, especially from my family. Um, and they never were overly supportive to begin with. So I've learned the value of having support from others impacted because truly they're the only ones who understand how we're feeling.
Yeah,
You know, I'm grateful that my pre-route friends and my family can't understand, but it also makes it hard.
yeah. Are there other ways that they support you that aren't like emotionally directed? It like do they include you in like holiday times, or do they ever want to do stuff? Or they're just pretty distant?
I actually moved away from Colorado many years ago to get away from them, so no.
Okay, okay. So good. So then we notice who is it that we can hope for support and those who just know.
Yeah.
I've got somebody in my family that we talk a lot, but it's all about him.
Yeah.
And never once does he say, "And how's your day?" But I have another family member, like we take turns. So
Yeah. And
any
I
other
think I
comments
was
or yeah.
I think chosen family is important as well. You know, we can't
Yeah.
pick our birth family, but we can pick our chosen family.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alma Dell, it's been asked, can you pull up that last slide easily so that somebody can take a screenshot of it? You
Here?
know, yes, thank you
Yes.
so much. One of the things you mentioned, I think is super important for us to remember is that you said sometimes people can motivate us because, and the reason I think that's important is that when when people are feeling low, that's the
Yeah.
hardest time for us to reach out.
Yeah.
And usually we're trying to wait until we are feeling better before
Yeah.
we reach out.
Yeah.
And yet the person who we would reach out to might be the person to say that says, you know, it's going to be okay, or whatever it is you need to hear in order to get out of bed that morning. Or maybe they're going to give you permission to stay in bed that morning.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think that's a really important thing. Instead of waiting for us to feel internally motivated, that we go ahead and do it even when it's difficult. And hopefully that person is going to help us or motivate us or give us permission, be kind to us.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. And one of the things about depression, if I can just call it that, um, it's when we're low. Grief is part of it, but depression is like it's hopeless, it's helpless, forget about it, nothing's going to work. It overcoming those thoughts. It's called we call it psychologists call it behavioral activation. Don't wait for you to feel like doing it. Do it and let the feeling catch up with you. I know I should get out and move around and take a walk. I don't want to take a walk. Put your shoes on, get out the door. Again, walk even 5 minutes. You don't have to do the 15-minute rule. As you start to move, then the willingness to move will catch up. So that's that sense of I don't feel like doing it, but I'm gonna do it, and then hopefully I'll feel better. But I grant you, it's a vulnerable time, and if you feel rejected at that time, that doesn't feel good. But if you feel lifted by somebody's just simple understanding and affirmation, that's great.
I just want to validate Jill's point about family being less than supportive. I've had I've had a similar experience with my family, and I know other people have too that I've spoken to. And it's really, I just want to acknowledge that it's almost a secondary trauma to the
Sure,
trauma, and
sure.
it's real, and it's very difficult when your own family betrays you
Yeah.
during a time that you really need them.
Do you think it was they just didn't understand or they hadn't been supportive even prior?
Um, Honestly, I'm not sure. Their behavior, their treatment of me, it's
Yeah,
still to this day
yeah,
confounds me.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't have a relationship with
yeah,
my brothers because of it. It's
yeah,
really,
yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I'm on a healing journey. They're not part of
Sure.
that. I
Right,
don't.
right.
I can't have them in my life
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
positive consequences. So
This,
I don't want to get into all that. I just wanted
sure,
to
sure.
acknowledge what Jill said, and
Yeah,
just to say if there are others on this um, meeting tonight that have experienced that, it's a thing.
it's a thing.
It
Yeah,
can be a thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Cindy, I'm going to take that one step further, and even friends who weren't at the incident with you, a lot of times people don't know what to do or say. And I know for me, some of the people who I thought I'd receive the most from, as far as support goes, I actually received the least from.
Yeah.
And so that was a challenge as well.
And I will say one more thing. I have learned through this experience that my brothers gave me what they could.
Hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
And 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 I have learned to recognize and accept that, and it makes sense to me now. But in the moments and the years prior to that, it was so incredibly distressing and upsetting and traumatizing
Yeah.
what they did to me. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I understand now that they weren't capable of giving me what I needed.
Yeah.
There,
That's definitely a very real thing.
Yeah. Some
and
people
there's
are
a lot
capable of
more to
giving
that
you a
story.
ride, but not talking.
Yeah.
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 What did you say, Alma?
I said some people are capable of giving you a ride or coming over and helping you with chore, with something in your yard or I don't know, but they just can't talk about feelings.
They're
So,
not they're not even at that level. But
oh, okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Jackie.
bigger things at play here,
Yeah.
obviously. But
And
and
one
I don't
one
know
of the things that we know from the research that's been done at the National Mass Violence Center is that those people who've had a prior trauma experience,
Mhm.
and it may or may not have been a violent thing, but it may have been an emotional trauma or neglect or something like that. Those people have a prior history are more likely to have a longer recovery time or more intense reactions. So, and I mean, try to, if sometimes we look back and say, like, man, I had three, or, we may have had more than just one. So,
Yep. They're just not equipped to handle
yeah. Yeah.
what I went through.
Jackie, and then we'll get to the comments.
Sure. One of the things that I uh, talk with clients about, and I try to remember this myself, are managing my expectations. If the frustration we feel in relationships can be equal to that gap between expectation and reality. And I know for myself, just I always say, like, I figured out who's on my bus and who's not on my bus. And, it's about the people that I know I can lean on. And I sometimes we keep wanting that from folks who are either unable or unwilling. And if I can get my expectations closer to reality, I'm going to be more at peace, and I'm going to know who's on or off the Jackie support bus, so to speak. And it really makes a big difference, because then I'm not setting myself up for disappointment and frustration. I'm like, okay, that
Right.
that's just that's not what they're going to be able to handle,
Yep.
So
Yep.
It's a
just a
hard
thought.
lesson. It's a hard lesson, Jackie, from what
Super
your
hard.
expectations are and what they're able to give.
Yes.
And that
Yeah.
Yes.
gap, it's a very
Yeah. Yeah.
hurtful
And
lesson
for
to learn.
sure. And I, through experiencing somebody being there for decades, and then you have like when I had a major loss, it was like the person could not do that. And you could have knocked me over. I really was, you know, surprised by that. And it's true. Like some people, maybe they weren't there before an incident, a loss or a trauma or whatever. And and so they're just doing the same. They weren't there before, they weren't there now. And sometimes we experience people that were there, and that, but then they just, for whatever reason. And it's like, okay, if somebody shows you who they are, believe them and
Yeah.
go, okay, let me get
Yeah.
my support from folks that are willing, that are able, that are capable, and it gives us more peace. That's my 2 cents.
You know,
Yeah.
Jackie, something you said reminded me of something. Alma Dell had mentioned that sometimes as the years go on, our circle becomes smaller.
true.
And I know that's definitely the case. I was living in San Diego when Route happened. There were a lot of people from Southern California, so I met a lot of routers while I was there. And, at first we were all friends.
Yeah.
And then you realize that some people are stuck in the victim
Hmm.
role and you're wanting to heal. So I think that's really important to make sure that your support aligns with the path that you're on.
Yeah, that
What you
makes
what you
sense.
don't need is somebody who is stuck in that victim mentality, bringing you down as you're trying to put one foot in front of the other to
Hmm.
heal.
Yeah,
So I think
yeah,
it kind of, it self-selects over the years, but it's
it
really
does.
important as you're building your support network that you build with people who are actually supportive, not emotional vampires.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. And um it's important to understand even if you have a shared traumatic incident. Um and I agree so much with, of course, with Alma Dell, with, you know, we've always kind of known for a long time that what we call pre-event functioning. How was somebody doing before this incident happened? And just because you shared this event doesn't necessarily mean that even before the incident, this is somebody that you would have connected with, you know.
I just checked
Um,
some of the chats. Should we go to
Yep.
that?
Yep.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yep. Yeah. So
Um, I realized I needed to make finding a community a priority. When I felt alone and people weren't checking in, I realized I wasn't doing that for others. It goes with the saying, if you want a village, you have to be a villager. What a wonderful comment. Well, when I moved down to Charleston 7 years ago to work on this project, I knew three people here. And I deliberately just had to keep going over and over and over to reach out to people in this new city. So certainly, even though you're in the same city, your network may have changed dramatically. Another comment, I've struggled to ask others to assist with tasks. Even if I'm having a better day, the wrong response is like, why can't you do it? It set me back. I try to do things that I feel most capable. So, yes, sometimes that when we realize I'm it, um, then we find a way to get it done. But it is feel bad when you just wanted some help. And I remember asking my sister to help with my elderly mother, and she said, I'm not going to do that. It was a specific thing that I wanted her to do. And she's like, I'm not going to do that. And it turns out she did other things. But the thing I needed most at that time, she was like, no. So, like you were saying, Jackie, that she she corrected my expectations. She reset them. Yeah. Any
That's
other
a,
comments?
that's a good way to put it, correcting the expectations. Yeah.
I have
Yes.
I have one. I think where I got into trouble was expecting other people to do for me what my what I would do for them. So
Yeah.
I would apply the same expectation onto them for
Yeah.
what I would naturally do for them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I'm not sure. So I had the same expectation for them as I did for them. Does it?
And
Right.
Cindy, I've had to remind myself numerous times that I can't expect people to
It's
act towards me the way I act towards them.
and when I
Because
realized that, it was a big aha moment for me, and I thought, yep, I got to stop that. I
yeah,
need to have some level of expectation, but I can't have that level, that high
yeah,
level, because I'll always be disappointed in my brothers if
Yeah.
right.
if I aim too high.
And I have some friends that never call me. When I call them, they're like, I'm so glad you called. I'm like, well, I'm so I think I had to get past that, that it's just rare for them to call me. And so I do all the calling. And it's the same with my sister who's had a big career, very busy. And after my mother died, I called her every week, and then I called her every 2 weeks. And she didn't call me, but whenever I called her, and then I discovered that she reads her emails at 11 o'clock at night. And I would just send her an email. So I was so upset that she had stepped away like that. So, and I know another time she just said, I don't like feeling vulnerable. She said it right out. I don't like feeling vulnerable. So I think I had to learn to just keep making those calls to those people who respond nicely. They may
Yeah.
not check in with me, but if I check in with them, they're there. So that's when I said persistence, don't give up, try again, be willing to risk rejection.
Well, I always wish them happy birthday, happy Father's Day, happy, Merry Christmas, da, 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 da. I
Yeah,
never
yeah.
get a response.
Ah,
Never.
right,
And I never get wished a happy birthday, etc. I don't care. I'm
right.
not doing
Exactly.
it for any other
You
reason.
do. Yeah. You do what you do. Yeah.
We have another comment. I found that family doesn't know how to respond, so they don't bring up the tragedy. If I bring it up, they are interested and try to be supportive, but don't know what to say. And I have found the same thing. If somebody wasn't there, they don't know what to say. And I try to put myself in their shoes and, would I have known what to say prior to being involved in a mass violence incident myself?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I would like to say I would have, but I know the answer is no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then,
Sometimes we can just say, I don't know what to say. My heart
mhm,
is so full, or whatever. Right.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Something
And
I do when people show curiosity is to say, I'm in a place where I'm comfortable to talk about it. But if you hit something that I don't want to go into, I'll let you know.
that's great
Yeah.
advice.
So that's setting boundaries, willing to share. And I guess in some ways, if people are interested, that feels like they want to connect with your experience. But those of us who've not experienced great loss or great fear, it's hard for them to know.
And I think that the answer also changes over time. I mean, it might be something that you want to talk about 6 years down the road, but you don't want to talk about until then. And that's okay too. You know, Alma Dell mentioned a lot of us are rejection sensitive. And ironically, I'm listening to a book on Audible right now. It's called Rejection Proof by
Ah,
Jia Jiang. He actually set out to be rejected, 100 days of being rejected. And he learned so much about humanity and some of the craziest things people actually said yes to. But he
mm,
also in there talks about how to say no. Because I think a lot of us who are afraid of rejection are also afraid to say no to people. And that can be important too. We have to set our own boundaries. So if you're looking for a book to, in my case, listen to, because I can't sit down and read, I don't have patience, that's definitely a good one.
sounds great. I know that sometimes in their social skills training, they'll have people go into stores and just ask for ridiculous things or do ask for, but that's, I think I've seen him. He may have YouTube videos or something, but that's great. I love it.
Yeah, he's a
Yes.
blogger. I mean, at one point, he showed up at some random stranger's house in cleats with a soccer ball and asked if the guy would film him playing soccer in his backyard. And the guy actually said yes. And this was like during, like right as the Cowboys were going into overtime of a big game. And he was a big the guy was a big Cowboys fan. He still said yes. So it is,
Yeah.
it's an interesting book. My life coach actually recommended it for me. Um,
Thank you.
absolutely. And Alice put in the chat, the Transcend NMVC app is a great one to recommend to family and friends if they want to know more about how to support you or what you might be going through. And
Oh,
that's
thanks for that reminder. There is a whole section. That was what I was hired to do on that team, to do the Transcend, but we specifically said how to support others. There's a whole section there, and so that they could read that. Um,
I find it a great recommendation. And then that way you don't have to teach your
Explain.
family.
right,
they have a neutral source that they can go to
right, right.
for valuable information.
Absolutely. So we wanted to remind everyone that we do have two support groups a month, continuing the conversation with Heart. We have them the third Tuesday of each month at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern, and the fourth Thursday of each month at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. This year we have several months where the third Tuesday and the fourth Thursday fall in the same week. So on those months, we will do the last Thursday of the month instead so that we can have a week between. And if you're interested in signing up, it's facilitated by Jackie and myself. It's you can go to withheart.eventbrite.com or on the Resiliency and Justice Center's calendar. Um, the On-Site Foundation just released their registration for the next Triumph of a Tragedy. This is a program for anyone who was physically at the mass violence incident. Um, I've actually had the privilege of going through it twice. I went to the very first one and I had a very last minute opportunity in August to go as well. It's amazing. I know several people on this call right now have gone through it and it's definitely it's life-changing. So the dates are June 18th to 24th and it'll be at their campus in Ramona, California, which is just east of San Diego. So if you live out of state, you would fly into the San Diego airport. They have shuttles that will take you to the campus and bring you back to the airport. The program cost is covered through donations. The only out-of-pocket for survivors is the registration fee and getting yourself to the San Diego airport or driving to the campus. Um, with this, you must be at least 1 year post-incident. And then if you are interested, you can fill out a form at the onsitefoundation.org/triumph-over-tragedy. Next month, we are absolutely thrilled to bring somebody else from the National Mass Violence Center in, Dr. Alyssa Reingold, who's absolutely wonderful. She will be speaking on Holding Grief Gently, A Journey into the Meaning. She's amazing. I've had the privilege of working with her for a couple of years now, and like Alma Dell, I just adore them both. So additional support, if you have any interest in being paired with a Heart mentor, you can go to resiliencyandyjustice.org/heart and click on Request Heart Peer Support. All of our mentors have been impacted by mass violence and are trained to help support you. The Disaster Distress Helpline was created for people impacted by natural and man-made disasters. They are monitored 24/7, and you can either call or text them, and they have a great website, Safe Space. And as Alma Dell mentioned, the nmvvrc.org has a lot of great information, as does the Virtual Resiliencies massviolence.help. Um, Alice and Alma Dell were talking about the Transcend NMVC app. When you look for that in the App Store, make sure you put in NMVC because there are other Transcend apps, and it's a little blue circle that is with that. That was created by people impacted by mass violence, along with the National Mass Violence Center. So it's super helpful. There's nothing else like that for us. We do have a Facebook page if you're not part of it. We have quite a few people who post inspirational and meaningful posts, so it can help on those tough days. And if you enjoy cooking, we have a Cooking for Post-Traumatic Growth Facebook page where we share recipes and ideas. And as it's getting into the gardening season, I'm sure we'll be having some of that as well. So we'd welcome you guys to join that. So also, integrative services programs through the Resiliency and Justice Center are available free and available to anyone impacted by any mass violence incident. It includes the heart programs that we talked about. There is a weekly meditation and mindfulness program. They do that on Tuesdays and also once a month on a Monday. There's a trauma recovery yoga program. We have meditative art twice a month that I am now leading. Um, the only in-person program on here is the equine therapy demonstration. So if you happen to be in Las Vegas during one of the times they're doing that, we'd encourage you to sign up and go to that. But everything else is online. And you can, for more information and or to register, please go to resiliencyandjustice.org/calendar. Quick look at the calendar. Anything in yellow is open to anyone impacted by mass violence. If it is event specific, we ask that you not sign up for it unless you were impacted by that event, but anything else, you are more than welcome to. And as I mentioned, it's all free for us. So we just want to thank everybody for joining us. It's been great spending time with you today, and we hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful night.
Thanks for having me, everybody.